Welcome to Breaking Down Sustainability, and in this episode, we'll be breaking down Kenya Airways Sustainability Report, which was released in June last year and covers the period from 1st January to 31st December 2024. Notably, it is the organization's first standalone sustainability report, while also serving as the continent's first externally assured sustainability report. What exactly does this mean? uh, that it is the organization's first standalone report shows a commitment to sustainability by Kenya Airways. It shows that indeed they are committed to sustainability, and it is not just a few extra pages on the annual financial report, but it is actually an area of focus that is worthy to be handled by itself, almost similar weight to financial performance, of which I believe it is long overdue for this, because Kenya Airways has been plagued with serious governance issues. In the early 2010s, they had this ambitious project dubbed Project Mawingu. However, the same did not take off, so to say. They remained on Earth. We never got to the clouds as we had aspired to, mainly because the governance that was in place could not check um, the ambitious plans that had been put in place. These plans were financially intensive, which led to the organization taking on high debts. It was also plagued with corruption at the time. So all this piling up led to such a massive drop in standards from the organization, and they ended up recording huge losses. In fact, from the reports, they note that this is the year that they have noted a high profit in the last 7 years. So they have been undergoing losses because of some of these issues. However, the organization is also a lesson in turning around your systems, because they brought in competent people. They brought in Michael Joseph to serve as the chair. They also brought Alan Kilavuka to serve as the CEO. So together they have been working to try and turn the organization, turn the fortunes of the organization, to gear it towards a more sustainable organization. And as you can see, in the previous year, they published a standalone sustainability report showing their commitment to ESG and to sustainability. So what is an externally assured report? This simply means that a third party actually went through the report, and that they can confirm that the data within the report is reliable, that the methodologies used are sound, and that the disclosures which are within the report actually meet the reporting standards. They are It is sort of an auditor, more something like an auditor. So you're simply saying that your report has actually been audited and has been confirmed to be up to par with recognized reporting standards. For this particular one, for Kenya Airways, Impact Africa Consulting Limited was the organization that was tasked with actually giving their assurance, their external assurance. So they actually give the assurance that they have gone through the report, and that the data is reliable, that the methodologies used are sound, and that the disclosures actually meet the required reporting standards. So this, by it being the continent's first externally assured report, signals where the ESG landscape is headed, um, for us as a country, and even for the continent as a whole. Soon enough, the external assurance will be a requirement. It will become the norm rather than the exception. Now we are finding that Kenya Airways are the first to do so, but soon almost every organization will be forced to do so if they are to go by the reporting standards of GRI as KQ has done in their report. So yes, as highlighted, the report was prepared in accordance with the GRI standards. In fact, at the end of the report, they have given the GRI index to guide whoever is going through the report what were the standards that they were applying in generating their report. Also notably, the report does not include third-party does not include third-party impacts. And what are third-party impacts? These are simply impacts that arise from suppliers or from partners, not impact that arises from the organization itself. So all this is saying is that the report is focused on impacts that are generated by the organization rather than by its partners and by its suppliers. Another notable feature, just at the onset of this sustainability report, is that there is a message from both the chairman, Mr. Michael Joseph, and the CEO, Mr. Alan Kilavuka, which shows, to some extent, it shows the independence of the governance structures, such that the chairman is an independent office and the CEO is an independent office. So they each have a message coming from their independent offices, rather than having a scenario whereby, either the CEO is gobbled up by the chairman or the chairman overshadows the CEO. However, in this particular instance, we can see that both institutions, the CEO and the chairman of the board, gave a message which signifies the respective independence. Notably, however, the chairman retired in June last year, Mr. Michael Joseph. He retired in June last year, whereas the CEO also retired in December last year. So we have an acting CEO, Captain George Kamal, who is acting as the CEO currently. However, a substantive CEO should be filling the position soon. Also, a substantive chairman should be coming in, and we can only wait and see and hope that whoever will be coming in shall go in the direction that the outgoing leaders have set, with a focus on sustainability and with a focus on ESG. I'm sure the organization will be headed in a better direction than has been the case previously. Also, the report has a list of material topics as required by the GRI standards. It has a list of material topics for this particular report, and they note that the prioritization was guided by corporate performance analysis, by regulatory compliance, and by stakeholder feedback. So all these come together to actually determine what are the list of material topics. So for this particular report, Kenya Airways noted that their most prioritized material topics were health and safety, economic performance, employment practices, energy sources, solid waste management, carbon emissions, and water management. So they highlight why these particular areas have been focused on, why they feel these are the material topics for the organization, while also highlighting the particular SDGs that relate to these material topics. Onto the substantive report, we'll start with the environmental impact. So Kenya Airways has given the impact of the environmental activities. They've given the highlights of what exactly they are emitting as regards carbon emissions, what they are using as regards energy sources, their intake, their output, their water management, their waste management. So all this has been highlighted in the report under the environmental impacts. We note that being an airline, indeed, they have significant carbon emissions coming from their energy sources. Their main energy source was jet fuel. As an airline, goes without saying. The airplanes are using jet fuel, so this will definitely dominate their source of energy. They also had electricity, and they report that 12% of their ground services equipment was run by electricity. 12% might not be a very high number. However, this is quite commendable because they are moving away from reliance on fossil fuels such as petrol and whatnot, and they're now moving towards more renewable sources such as electricity, and in future times probably solar and wind. So there's still opportunity for the organization to do more. 12% leaves room for more, so they could get to 30% or 40%, increase their usage of renewable sources so as to better conserve the environment and to better do their part on environmental conservation. They note that they're emitting quite a significant amount of emissions, whereas there are no offsets currently. However, they have set in place a multi-step approach to actually offsetting their carbon emissions. And the way they are planning to do this is by planting 1.2 million trees annually. So they have actually begun piloting of the same. They noted that using seedlings may be a bit financially unsustainable, and so they are using seed balls in conjunction with drone technology to be able to broadcast these seed balls on huge acres of land so as to hasten the germination process. So as I've noted, they have actually begun piloting the same in Maragoli Hills, if I'm not mistaken. So the same is underway, and once they get to their target numbers, then they can be able to offset the emissions that they are currently emitting due to their due to their frequent travels and their mode of operation basically. So what SDGs have they been able to progress? On clean water and sanitation, they are substantially increasing water use efficiency across all sectors. Further, they are also trying to use affordable and clean energy. They are further making steps in SDG number 9 on the industry, innovation, and infrastructure by upgrading the infrastructure, e.g. the ground equipment, moving towards more sustainable energy sources such as electricity. So this is part of the innovation that they're doing. And SDG 12, they also have responsible consumption and production. As noted, they're trying to move towards more efficient energy use, and as such, they are progressing SDG number 12 on responsible consumption and production. Further, on their environmental impact, also climate action, as noted, there's currently no offsets for their carbon emissions. However, they have put a plan in place and a strategy in place to be able to undertake this by being able to plant trees annually, as in partnership with the Kenya Forest Service. So those are the SDGs that are being progressed under land, under environment, sorry. The next category is on social impacts. So KQ highlights what are the social impacts of their activities in the past in the period noted between 1st January and 31st December 2024. So they note that, first of all, on their employee growth and gender diversity, they note that their employee size has grown by about 8%. Also, they note that women represent 44% of the workforce. However, this may sound commendable, but it is best to interrogate these numbers a bit better, because though it may read 44% and is an increase from 42% that they had recorded in 2023, it is best to interrogate which positions exactly are they occupying. They may have an increase in representation, however, they are not really occupying leadership positions. For example, in these numbers exactly, in KQ, we have the executive committee only having 17% women representation, whereas the heads of department, only 27% of them are women. So you see, although the entire organization may have 44% representation on gender diversity, that is women inclusion, the same is not reflected in the executive committee or in the upper levels of the organization. And it is important for it to reflect as well on the top, just as it reflects in the mid and lower levels, it should just as well reflect on the top levels. Further, they note that employee satisfaction increased from 21 to 40 in 2024. This is on the employee net promoter score, which can be attributed to the trainings that they held for their staff and the professional development that they afforded their staff. Further, we see on the diversity, we see that the workforce, the age of the workforce is distributed. 72% is in the 30 to 50 age group, which provides a balance of experience and innovation. Further, the report gives a spread of the regions from which the employees come from, which is commendable. However, it being a national carrier, I believe it would have been better if they could as well have given the national distribution of the staff, where exactly are the staff coming from, and the ethnic distribution, to actually show diversity and inclusion, and not just paper checklist, just confirming on paper that there is inclusivity, whereas on the ground there is actually no. Further, they had a focus on occupational health and safety. They are focusing on ensuring that their staff are well protected during their operations on workplace safety. They are putting in effort to ensure that all staff are equipped with protective equipment, and they are well trained on safety issues. Further, they are also ensuring the health, safety, and security of their passengers and the cargo that they are carrying. On persons with disability, they note that they have not really been inclusive in this regard. They ought to do more, noting that only 0.06% of the staff is people with disability, which is actually a decrease from 0.07, which they recorded in 2023. So it is important for the organization, and not just Kenya Airways, but actually all organizations within the country, to look into this particular aspect. They need to be more inclusive and more diverse. Further, they also had trainings for their staff, as noted. This led to increased employee satisfaction, Also, it led to them being able to maintain their turnover at 4.82%. On the SDGs that they are able to progress under the social impact, we have the good health and well-being. This is under the occupational safety, as highlighted. On the gender equality, as noted, they are trying to increase their inclusivity of women. However, the same should be reflected in the top levels of management and not just in the low levels of staff. Further, SDG number 8, which is on decent work and economic growth, they are trying to provide this to their staff. Further, they have increased their staffing levels. They have increased the number of staff that they have on board, as noted, by 8%. So they are also trying to reduce the unemployment rate. And on further, the on goal number 10 on reduced inequalities, as noted, though they still need to do better, they are also trying to include persons with disabilities in their operations and in their staff. So that was on social impact. What about on governance? What is the governance impact that they have? What is the corporate governance impact that they have reported in their report? Well, they note that the board charter emphasizes the importance of diversity as a key enabler of effective decision making and strategic oversight. And they note that the same board charter provides for 30% of their board being independent. However, all that they report on is that 100% of the board were able to take independence evaluation during the annual evaluation, but they do not say what percentage of the board is actually independent, of which I believe this is important when reporting. It is important to highlight who are actually your board members, what is the mix of skills, what is the ethnic mix, what is the regional distribution. None of this has been highlighted in the report. I feel this is an oversight on their side and they ought to have done this. However, they have actually highlighted the progress that they are making as regards conflict of interest management. Further, they note that 100% of board members and suppliers underwent their code of conduct training. Further, they also have a whistleblowing policy in place, with 100% of the employees being able to complete the ethics and compliance training. Also, notably, they held internal audit awareness month, which was in May. This was meant to raise internal audit awareness, the importance of it. They held trainings and staff staff education. They staff awareness. They taught their staff on the importance of internal audit, on the processes of internal audit, and all that regards internal audit. This was in May, the internal audit awareness month. Further, in October, they had the fraud awareness month, whereby they were taught on fraud and on whistleblowing. So as you can see, they are actually trying to make substantive steps as regards corporate governance. They also held the 48th annual general meeting, whereby they were able to report to the shareholders the progress that they are making. Also, they highlight the commitment to policy, their commitment to human rights policies and responsible business conduct. This is highlighted in the report. They also highlight the various stakeholder engagement, the various categories of stakeholders that Kenya Airways engages. So what SDGs exactly are they progressing with their activities? What governance SDGs? We have gender equality, we have decent work and economic growth, we have reduced inequalities, we have partnership for the goals, we have peace, justice, and strong institutions. So, as highlighted by their various efforts, including whistleblowing, including conflict of interest management, these are the SDGs that they are able to move forward. Finally, we have the economic impact. They have also reported on the economic impact of their activities, and it is notable that they were able to report an operating profit of 5.4 billion for the first time in 7 years, that they were able to achieve such a positive financial result. So this goes to show that they are actually having efficient operational strategies. It shows that their commitment to ESG is paying off. Strong governance is actually paying off, and they were able to report an operating profit for the first time in 7 years. Further, they also noted a 6% increase in economic value generated. So definitely their commitment to sustainability is paying off, and I believe this trend will go on even in future years. They also showed an improved debt and financial management. This was as shown by a reduction in payment to capital providers. So also as regards financial management and debt management, they are also doing quite well. Um, on the retirement benefits, they noted that 82.9% of the workforce is eligible for retirement benefits, which includes participation in an independently managed pension fund valued at 25 billion, 25.9, about 26 billion. So as you can see, their activities also have quite a significant economic impact, which has been highlighted. They have also highlighted the climate related risks and opportunities that are available for the organization, which include the fleet modernization, which include operational efficiency initiatives, and environmental compensation, such as the offsetting projects that has been highlighted. So what SDGs are they able to progress under their economic impact? We have decent work and economic growth, which is SDG number 8. As noted, they are having positive results, which shows strong economic growth. Further, we have SDG number 9, which is industry, innovation, and infrastructure. This is travel infrastructure for the systems within the airlines itself. So they are progressing this under SDG number 9. Also SDG number 10, which is on reduced inequalities. They are also adopting policies, especially their wage and their social protection policies, to help alleviate some of these reduced inequalities. So the finally the report ends with the GRI index that can serve as a guide for anyone who is trying to go through the report and understand it, why the material topics were prioritized as the material topics. All in all, I think it is commendable that KQ is now focused towards ESG, and not just having a focus, but being seen to have a focus, as is evident from their standalone sustainability report that is actually externally assured. However, there's still areas of improvement, as noted. The report is also not very, does not include, is not very detailed. It has a lot of the achievements that they are doing, news bits of what they were able to do, activities, but it will be best if before these news bits are given, you actually have data analysis of your activities, not just generic statements of what you ought to do or what you wish to be doing, but rather data-driven information which actually investors can rely on, and not just a narrative that just looks good. The report itself is actually quite aesthetically pleasing, but that is not the aim. You do not want something that is aesthetically pleasing, but within itself the content is not sufficient. So maybe they can look into making it a bit more detailed, giving actual effect, like what they've done on their carbon emissions and whatnot, not just giving narratives. Further, I think it is time for other organizations to take cue from what KQ has done, and also generate their own standalone reports that are externally assured. And this way, the sustainability space with the country, organizations can become more sustainable, and the sustainability space in the country can also move forward, um, even as we try to catch up, with the developed world, as we try to move to Singapore. That is it for this episode. On the next episode, we'll be breaking down Safaricom's sustainability report. So make sure to be on the lookout for that. See you in the coming week.